Now let's pop out that chat bar. Boink. Just like that. Okay, so now we go back to this and put that chat. Hello and welcome to the stream if you're here. And sorry for the awkwardness at the moment, just getting things set up here. Not in my usual area, so things are a little awkward. Also, hello. Okay, there's that. Click that. Store that to that size. It's apparently supposed to be. Let's see, can I adjust the size of this? Yes, I can. And bring this down to there. Click. Oh, no. Why did I dislike my own video? I did not want the support thing. Stupid YouTube. Okay, now I have to move that to a like. Okay. Now, where, pray tell, did the chat window go? Because I wanted that on the, but now what? Okay, grab that. No, I'm not. Come on now, computer. Stop fighting me and let me do the thing. Oh, hello to whomever just liked the video. I'm still trying to get the messenger or the the chat to pop up in the right spot. Actually, no, I'm being dumb about this. Let's go to that. I know none of y'all can see what I'm doing right now, but I'm fiddling around with the video. Son of a biscuit. Okay, click there. Minimize that. There we go. Got it. Okay. So, greetings, internet viewers. Gonna wait a little bit and see if some other people decide to drop in. But while I'm waiting, I might as well let y'all know what's going on. Essentially, I just found out today, thanks to Facebook, of all places, that today is apparently National Paranormal Day. And I figured I would use this opportunity to basically do a live stream. You know, I'm a little out of frame. There I am. Do a live stream because, as most of y'all know, like the spooky thing is kind of my claim to fame. I'm not really internet famous yet, if ever, but y'all get what I'm saying. The spooky thing is my thing, so I figured why not use this as an opportunity to, put myself out there some more. As you can see behind me or beside me, depending on your viewpoint, I have some of my collection of ventriloquist puppets. The rest are in the storage tub, hanging out underneath this laptop and everything here. So, oh, and to anyone who's wondering why the tree is there, that's part of the thing. See, I know I'm kind of rambling at this point, but I'm getting there. I'm getting to the point. The point is, since it's National Paranormal Day, I figured I would do something. I would do a stream in the same room as my antiquated ventriloquist puppet figures, and the Douglas fir over here has a a motion sensor on the front of it. It's actually a pretty good one for the time period. I mean, yeah. So my thought process here is we're gonna just chat. We're gonna stream for a bit and see if anything happens. Given that it's National Supernatural Day, or not Supernatural, Paranormal. because I did a little bit of research in, leading up to this, because I couldn't remember if it was paranormal or supernatural, and it turns out there is a supernatural day, but it's for that TV show. Douglas Fir, would you shut your trap? Thank you. But anyway, as you can see, the light sensor on Douglas, is pretty good. So I'm thinking that we'll just do this little live stream. We'll talk about spooky stuff. Yeah, you can ask me things about, if I've had any spooky encounters or things that I've done or said in the past. My personal experiences with the supernatural, the paranormal, as it were. And we'll just have these guys in the background. If something happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. So I'll open the floor to you, the viewer. Go ahead and type in the chat over there. Have you ever had any paranormal or kind of spooky things happen to you? I'll give you a couple minutes to actually write in the chat. While you're doing that, I need a drink. Pardonnez-moi. I don't know if I set him off grabbing my bottle of water. Or maybe it was my elbow. Hold on. When I was bringing it back, I moved my arm. I didn't get that close. Hold on, let me try something. Let's see. I was leaned forward like this. I came back like this with the water bottle in hand. Hi, Alina's Kitty World. I'm very appreciative that you're such a big fan. I'm sorry if I seem a little kind of freaked out at the moment, but I set something up. I was just talking about it a second ago. Don't know if you were listening at that point, but I have my Douglas Fir Christmas tree thing over here set up because it's natural paranormal day, and I have them set up next to my antique ventriloquist puppets, and I have them set up so that if there is anything, if there are any energies attached to any of my puppets, that they can basically get our attention by sending off the tree. And the tree just went off. Like, I demonstrated it, I showed how it works. I don't know if it's because I was reaching for my bottle of water. All I know is that I'm a little spooked. But anyway, so yeah, and like I was just saying, if you have any spooky or paranormal things or related stories that you know of, that happened to you or someone you know, feel free to let me know in the chat. Also, thank you for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. And my apologies if this stream's going to be a little bit lacking. I might grab one of my Goosebump books off the shelf behind me or something. Ghost. My sentiments exactly. So now I have to do this for my own sake. Although I've heard with spirits, you're not supposed to taunt them, you're not supposed to ask them to do things. What's it called? Okay. But you're not supposed to like taunt them or try and coax them into doing things. But I have been having some weird things happening around the house. I've kind of been trying to catalog them, record them when they happen here on the channel. Like what happened with my car not too long ago, but that might have been just an electrical malfunction. Anyways, to sate my curiosity, if there is if there are any entities attached to any of these puppets, and if it was you who made the tree go off a minute ago, can you do it again? I'm hoping the answer is no. but um, but in case you don't know how it works, there's a thing on the front of that tree, and if you move in front of it, it'll it'll sing Christmas songs. Okay, so while we wait for something to happen, let's see what to do, how to be entertaining while waiting for something to happen. Heck, I'll grab one of my Goosebump books. Just like right here behind me, like I said before. Hopefully, I don't knock anything over. Let's see, what's a good one? Let's go with ha, my extremely battered and beaten up copy of Special Edition #3 that I got at the flea market. Oh, excuse me, I burped. I just had a rather big dinner not too long ago. All right, so let's see. I'm going to have you, the viewer, choose which story I'm going to read. There are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. There are 10 stories. So in the comments there, put in a number between 1 and 10, and I'll read that story. Or from 1 to 10, I should say. I know, right? I really like the cover. It's very, very spooky, summery. Number 6. Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Story number 6 in this book is called Change for the Strange. And these are all fairly short books because it's stories because it's like a compilation. Change for the Strange, page 62. 62. Oh, one too far. And there we go. Okay. Change for the Strange. And you'll have to pardon me. When I read books and stuff, I sometimes stumble and what have you. But enough of that. Let's go. And hopefully I don't get a copyright strike because of this. Jane Myers, 12-year-old track star. That's me. Oh, let me try again. Jane Myers, 12-year-old track star. That's me. As I stepped up to the starting line, I could hear the crowd scream. The fans roared. They were waiting to see my spectacular long jump. Jane? Jane? Earth to Jane? Huh? Jane, stop daydreaming. It's time to go. Lizzie called from across the practice field. Lizzie Gardner is my best friend. I watched as she walked toward me, careful to keep away from the dirt patches. Lizzie hates to get her shoes dirty. Today she wore sparkly pink sneakers and a short pink skirt. A pink headband held her blonde hair in place. Are you ready to go? She yelled, cupping her hands around her mouth. Lizzie doesn't understand anything about track or why I practice so much. She thinks I'd have more fun at her house, hanging out. But I want to be a track star more than anything, more than anything else. Unfortunately, I didn't make the school team. I heard one of the girls from on the team say I wasn't good enough to carry their towels. That was so cold. But I'm not giving up. Every afternoon after school, I practice out in the field. Someday I'm going to be an incredible jumper, no matter what it takes. After I practice, I always hang out at Lizzie's house. First, we watch Animaniacs. Great show, great choice. Then we put on the CD player and dance around to our favorite band, Fruit Bag. Fruit Bag? Sure, it's fun, but lately I've been more into track than hanging out. Lizzie's changed too. She still wants me to come over and do the same things, only now she's added a new one. She likes to go through her closet, thinking up new outfits. Do these shoes go with my new skirt? Skirt. Do these shoes go with my new shirt? It's skirt, brain. Come on. Does this top match my eyes? We do that until Ivan the Terrible barges into her room. That's what I call Lizzie's little brother. Ivan has a dog, a really mean pit bull. He named it Lizzie, just to make his sister angry. Lizzie the dog ate Lizzie the person's new yellow scrunchie last week. He swallowed it in one gulp. Ivan also has a whole collection of mice, snakes, and other weird animals. He likes to chase us all over the house, dangling his disgusting creatures in our faces. Hello, anybody home? Lizzie tapped me on the shoulder. I've been talking to you for 5 minutes and you haven't heard a word I've said. By now I've gathered my things together. Sorry, I said as we headed off to the practice field. What's up? Before we go to my house, Lizzie told me, I want to go shopping. I found a great clothing store. It's called A Change for the Strange. Have you seen it? It's right around the corner. I shook my head no. A minute later, we stood in front of the store. A neon pink and orange awning, that's the word, neon pink and orange awning stretched over its front door. A Change for the Strange ran across the top in glowing letters. I walked through the door and gasped. The place was so strange. It didn't seem like a clothing store at all. All sorts of weird items crammed the aisles. Rain slickers hung from moose antlers, yellow umbrellas with duck head handles bobbed in puddles of water, green capes with velvet flowers dangled from the leafy trees, fluffy bunny slippers peeked out of rabbit hutches, shark's tooth necklaces floated in a tiny wave pool. Lizzie disappeared between the racks. I usually follow her around stores like a little kid, but this time I stood in one place just gawking. A store clerk stepped up to me. May I help you? She asked. Something had caught my eye, a bright red jacket. It had tiny cracks in the middle, or in the material, and a yellow trim that ran around the middle. Can I see that jacket? I asked. The clerk, the clerk reached up and unhooked the jacket from a tree branch. The jacket looked wet, slick, but when I ran my hand down the front, it felt totally dry. It's a cool looking pattern, I told her. She smiled and pointed to the cracks. Those are scales, she explained. That jacket is snakeskin. Ugh! I snatched my hand away. The sales clerk slipped the jacket off the hanger. Try it on, she urged. I bet it'll look great on you. I slipped into it, then I turned toward the mirror and I slipped into it, then I turned toward the mirror. It looked great. I twirled around, a perfect fit. I'll take it, I declared. You will? Lizzie came over, surprised. Sure, it looks great. It looks great with my eyes, I joked. Lizzie grinned. I told you the store was great. She held out a pair of white bunny slippers. I'm going to buy these. Let me carefully turn the ancient pages of this 1990s book. I choked back a giggle. A snakeskin jacket was one thing, but bunny slippers? Those will be great for when you Those will be great for when you get hopping mad, I teased Lizzie. Ha ha, remind me to laugh later, Lizzie snapped. We quickly paid for the clothes and rushed out of the store. Out on the street, I zipped up the snakeskin jacket all the way up to my neck. I hadn't taken it off since I tried it on, not for a second. I loved it. I gazed at the bright snakeskin as we walked. It sparkled in the sunlight. It looked awesome, like something a model would wear. When we reached Lizzie's house, we spotted Ivan crawling out of the front yard. Shh, he whispered. I'm on the lookout for caterpillars. I'm starting a new collection, so don't scare him away.
No problem. No problem, Lizzie shouted as loud as she could. Then she stamped her feet and waved her arms. We'll be so quiet you won't even know we're here, she screamed. I started to follow Lizzie into the house, then stopped. I felt kind of weird, kind of weak, and dizzy. Are you okay? Lizzie asked. You look a little pale. I'm not sure, I answered. I took a few more steps. Everything around me started to spin. I grabbed onto Lizzie so that I wouldn't fall. Maybe you're getting sick, Lizzie said. Want me to walk you home? No, that's okay, I replied weakly. I can go by myself. Are you sure? You don't look good. I'll be fine, I told Lizzie. I'll call you when I get home. I started home, but I didn't get very far. Suddenly I felt really hot. My skin felt as if it were burning up. All I wanted to do was lie down, right there on Lizzie's lawn, stretch out in the cool green grass, but I forced myself to stand. Then I flicked then I flicked out my tongue. It darted in and out, in and out. I tried to stop, to hold it in, but I couldn't. And each time it lashed out, it grew longer, pointier. I clamped my mouth shut, but my tongue shot back out. And I smelled something strange. An animal? A cat? Then I smelled a dog and a squirrel. My mind raced with panic. I could never smell animals before. What was happening to me? Then I sniffed something really tasty. A nice, mousy smell coming from Lizzie's house. Ivan's pet mice. Mmm. I clutched my head. This is getting weird. Kind of like it. Then I screamed, My head! And no hair. No ears. My whole head was covered with dry, cracked skin. I rubbed it frantically. I wanted to bring back my old head. Then the world seemed to tilt. Everything swam out of focus, as if I were on a speeding merry-go-round. I couldn't hold myself up. I sank to the ground. I closed my eyes. I'll count to 3, I said. Then everything will be okay. I will wake up and be back to normal. Slowly I counted. 1, 2, 3. I opened my eyes, and I shrieked out in terror. I wasn't Jane Myers, track star. I wasn't even Jane Myers, human being. I'm a snake, I tried to shout, but a long hiss was all that came out. Excuse me. I inhaled my spit. Let's see. I felt sick to my stomach. I was a snake. A slithering, fork-tongued snake. I need help, I thought desperately. I need Lizzie. She'll know what to do. I nosed aside a giant blade of grass and stared up at Lizzie's house. How can I get inside? I started to slither toward the front door when her mother opened it. She stood in the open doorway, fumbling for something inside her bag. This was it, my chance to get inside. I slithered as fast as I could. Then a shadow fell over me. Lizzie, the pit bull. Oh no, I tried to moan, but of course I hissed instead. The dog lowered her head and growled, a low, menacing growl. Then she bared her teeth. I tried to slither away. Lizzie trailed me, snarling, drooling saliva on me. I slipped under a bush, but she found me. She lowered her head to the ground. I could feel her hot breath on my skin. With one bite, Lizzie was going to rip the skin off my back. She opened her mouth and, Lizzie, go! It was Mrs. Gardner. The dog jerked her head up and whimpered. Ivan, come and get the dog. I don't want her in the garden. Ivan! No answer. Mrs. Gardner grabbed Lizzie's collar and tugged the dog inside. I slid out of the bushes and followed right behind. Mrs. Gardner put the dog in the basement while I slithered up the stairs to the bedrooms. Lizzie, I hissed to my friend. I glanced around the room. I spotted the TV, the CD player, the fruit bag poster on the wall, but no Lizzie. Then the light snapped on. There stood Lizzie in the doorway. She was here. She could save me. Hey, Lizzie, I cried, twisting my snake body up into the air. Help me! Help me! Yeah! Lizzie screamed. A snake! Ivan, get in here! No, it's me, I wanted to shout, but of course I couldn't. What could I do? Lizzie pressed against the wall as I wriggled over to the remote control of her nightstand. I had an idea. I pushed my head against the power button. The power flickered on the screen. So far, so good. I pressed another button until the Animaniacs came on. Now she'd understand. Ivan! Lizzie began. Then she stopped. A light came into her eyes. Did she understand? She did. I writhed in happiness. Lizzie stepped closer. She reached out. She was going to pick me up. To save me. No. She grabbed hold of her tennis racket and, with a loud cry, swung it hard and whopped me across the room. Splow! I hit her CD player. My tail struck a button. Fruit Bag began to play. For a moment, I lay stunned on top of the player while Lizzie shrieked for Ivan. Then I got another idea. I began to dance. Lizzie, I hissed. It's me. It's Jane. I'm dancing the way we always do. Lizzie's eyes widened with fear. She cowered in the corner. Ivan, she yelled. Get in here now! Ivan poked his head in the room. He grinned. Got a problem? One of your snakes is loose, Lizzie shrieked. Get it out of here now! Lizzie, I whimpered. I slinked off the CD player and slithered over to her feet. You have to save me. Lizzie backed into the corner. I coiled around her leg. Help me, I hissed. Yeah! She screeched. She hopped on the chair. She hopped on a chair, trying to shake me loose. Please, Ivan, take your snake. Take it. Ivan strolled over, taking his time. I threw a pleading look up at Lizzie. Please, I hissed. Ivan crouched over me. He stared at me. It's not my snake, he said. I don't have any red ones. Lizzie's voice screeched. I don't care, she shouted. Get it off of me! All right, Ivan said. He unwrapped me from Lizzie's leg and carried me to his bedroom. Then he dumped me into a snake cage with two other snakes. Their fangs gleamed in the light. Their hot snake breath washed over me. I pressed myself against the cage, but they slinked closer and closer. They know, I thought. They know I'm not a real snake like they are, and they're going to kill me. They writhed forward, one on each side of me, hissing, hissing. They were going to surround me and attack. Their long tongues slid out. They darted forward, and with a sharp jerk, Ivan reached into the cage and pulled me out. You know, Lizzie, Ivan said, carrying me back into Lizzie's room, there's something weird about this snake. It's got something on its stomach. He flipped me over, then he gasped. Wow, he said. This looks like a zipper, a tiny zipper. He shoved me into Lizzie's face. Get that thing out of here, she screeched. I mean it, Lizzie. Look, let's try to unzip it. Ivan set me gently on the floor. He hesitated, pulled back, changed his mind again. Then he took a deep breath, reached down, and tugged on the zipper. Rip! I exploded into my full human body. Ivan gasped. Lizzie screamed. Cool, Ivan said, reaching over to touch me. Lizzie kept screaming. Hey, how did you do that? He asked. My whole body shook as I told them the terrible story. When I left to go home, Lizzie was still screaming. Poor Lizzie, she's probably traumatized for life. A few days later, sorry, I'm having a little trouble talking right now. A few days later, Lizzie and I sat out on the field. I'd just finished practicing. That was awesome, Jane, Lizzie said. That's the highest I've ever seen you jump. I felt really proud. My jumping was totally excellent today. Yesterday, too. I hopped over to her. She reached down and petted my soft white fur. You're going to be a state high jump champ, she said. My pink nose twitched. You're right, I said. Did you bring any carrots? I had to admit it. Lizzie had been right back at the weird store. Those bunny slippers were definitely cool. That's the end of that story. Hashtag poor Lizzie. I agree. All right. Would you like me to read another story? Want a story from a different book?
because I don't just have Goosebumps. I've also got other books to choose from. Here, I'll bring them over as an example. And these are just ones with multiple stories in them. Let's see, I've got even more scary stories for sleepovers, scary stories for stormy nights. I've got, what's this one? Scared silly stories to make you gasp and giggle. See here, strange stories of the supernatural. And I'm just going to grab one more because I don't want to take too long doing this. Let's see. Here we go. 13 Ghostly Tales. We've been waiting for you. Let's see. Do you have any books that have to do with... Oh, sorry, the video feed is covering up the text bar. Come on, click on it. Click on it. This is annoying. Sorry. To do with cat. Oh, you mean like just cats in general? Because I mean, there could be one in a story in any of these books that have a cat theme to it. Although I do happen to have books involving a certain cat. I have a small collection of these, but not sure if you'd be interested in this. Also, hello to anyone else who just joined the stream. On that note, let's see who all is watching. Okay, only one person watching currently, and that's fine. Currently, two people watching presently. And shrink that back down. Come on, not this again. Okay, yes, Garfield. Okay. Not really sure how to read a Garfield comic strip thing. Hold on. I think I've got like one of the Garfield's Pet Force books. Hopefully it's on the shelf over here. No, that's not it. Ah, here we go. Or, well, okay. All right. We'll do Garfield's Tales of Mystery. Because this one's an actual book that I can read and not just go, on this panel, John is standing there, and then, he asks Garfield, and then Garfield does the thing. Okay. Oh, this is actually a chapter book. Let's see. Is this just like one continuous thing? Or, okay, it's several different stories. All right, this contains 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, my dinner is trying to come back up. Okay, so this one has 5 different stories in it. Would you like, well, go ahead and put a number between or from 1 to 5, and that's the story I'll read.
Let's see now.
A tough decision, I know. Uh, well, there's only 5 stories, so I guess we'll. Wait, was it 5? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, there's only 5 stories in this book. It's a rather short one. Otherwise, we can bump over to the Goosebumps book again. Also, while I've been reading, nothing's happened while I haven't been paying attention to these guys, has it? Inquiring minds need to know. Okay, story number 5. All right. The Case of the All Gone Goldfish, page 28. Oops, skipped a few pages there. Okay. I gotta say, I love the artwork in this book. All right, here we go. The Case of the All Gone Goldfish. Inspector Garfield paced back and forth, ignoring the suspect slumped in the chair a few feet away. I need answers, Garfield said. I need facts. And above all, I need oxygen. This pacing is too much exercise. Okay, here's the way I see it, said Garfield, after a rest. A dull but appetizing goldfish named Bubbles disappears from John's fish tank. Bubbles' exact whereabouts are unknown, but it's a good bet she's gone to that big seafood platter in the sky. Right? The suspect said nothing. Numerous paw prints are found on and around the fish tank, continued Garfield. Paw prints which could very well be yours. He shot a quick glance at the suspect, checking his reaction. The suspect returned a cold, unblinking stare. You're tough, huh? Said Garfield. Well, I'm tough too. I've touched John's dirty socks and survived. Believe me, it'll go easier for you if you cooperate. No response. All right then, have it your way, snapped Garfield. He resumed his explanation of the case. You spent the day in the house with Bubbles, so you had plenty of opportunity. Plus, you had a motive. First of all, your kind has a taste for fish. To you, Bubbles didn't belong in a fish tank. She belonged in a sesame seed bun. Sorry, there's more. Sesame seed bun with some onion rings on the side. And cheesecake for dessert. Garfield licked his lips as he checked his pockets, hoping he might find a pizza, but no luck. Where was I? Oh, yes. But there was another motive. Jealousy. You were jealous of the attention Bubbles received. Jealous of the fact that she had her own little castle to sleep in, while you had to share a bed. So you did it. You lured her out of the castle. Then you hit her with the tartar sauce. The suspect remained mute. Garfield pursed his lips. Still won't confess, huh? He reached for a large paper bag and stood before the suspect, hands behind his back. Okay, said Garfield. Maybe you'll talk now. Garfield pulled a little scuba mask and snorkel out of the bag and shoved it in the suspect's face. In the back of your closet, I found this, still wet. At that, the suspect toppled off the chair onto the floor. Another mystery bites the dust, said Garfield. Sherlock Holmes, eat your heart out. Just then Garfield heard the front door open. I'm home, called John. Odie barked a greeting. Hello, Odie, said John. Hello, Bubbles. There was a pause. Bubbles? Where are you? John said. Garfield! John stomped into the room. Garfield, what happened to my fish? John, I'm afraid Bubbles is Snack City.
replied Garfield. And there's the culprit. He pointed to the suspect still lying on the floor. Pookie? Cried John. You expect me to believe that your teddy bear ate my goldfish. Garfield, how dumb do you think I am? Tough question, Garfield said, and one that I've thought long and hard about. Just tell me, how do you explain that scuba mask and snorkel? The latest fashion craze? Asked Garfield. No TV for a month, shouted John, turning and stomping away.
By the way, here's the artwork that goes with that.
But anyway, no TV for a month, shouted John, turning and stomping away. Garfield bent down and scooped up Pookie. Congratulations, old pal, said Garfield. Looks like you're off the hook. He gave the teddy bear a reassuring hug. And now, how about some pizza? He smiled slyly. After all, a cat doesn't live by goldfish alone.
And that's the end of that particular tale. Shall I read another? There are 4 other ones contained in this book. Or if you want me to read something else, just let me know. Just toss it out in the comments and I'll see what I can do. Two.
Okay.
The Purloined Pie.
That's on page 10. 7, 9, 10.
The Purloined Pie.
Garfield and Odie watched as John took a cherry pie from the oven and quickly slipped it into an empty birdcage. John threw off his oven mitts, slammed the door of the cage, and padlocked it. Do you know what this is, Garfield? Asked John, holding up the cage. A pie in a birdcage, said Garfield. Good luck teaching it to sing. John hung the cage from a hook in the kitchen ceiling. It's my foolproof way of keeping your paws off the pie I baked for the party tonight at Grandma's. The cage is locked, and I have the only key. And as an added precaution, I've moved all the chairs into the dining room and locked the door, so don't think you can stack them up to reach the cage. He doesn't trust me, Odie, said Garfield. I respect that. John peered out the window. It's stopped snowing, he said, putting on his coat. So I'm off to the barber shop. Goodbye, Garfield. I hope the smell of that pie doesn't make you too hungry. Oh, go get a haircut, said Garfield. An hour later, John returned. He immediately checked the cage. The lock was unlocked. The door was open. The pie was gone. But how? Cried John. It's impossible. Garfield! Garfield sauntered into the kitchen, with Odie bouncing along behind him. Whatever it is, Odie did it, Garfield said. Garfield, you stole my pie. I never touched a crumb. I know you did, Garfield, said John, and I'll prove it. First, John examined Garfield's paws. Evidence, he exclaimed. Look at this blue thread stuck to your claws. It's the same color blue as my oven mitts. John, cried Garfield, when did you finally learn your colors? When did you finally learn your colors? John also checked Odie's paws, which were cold and wet. He said. You've been outside. John studied the floor. I see streaks leading toward the door. Streaks where you two tried to wipe away the tracks. He marched to the trash can. Tried to wipe them away with this. He held up a ball of wet and dirty paper towels. Finally, John noticed a screwdriver on the counter. He picked it up. The last piece of the puzzle, he said. Use it to tighten your brain, Garfield snapped. John thought for a moment. Then he smiled with satisfaction. Solving this mystery was incredibly simple for a mind like mine. Simple solutions for simple minds, said Garfield. Garfield, you needed a way to reach the cage, but the chairs were all locked away, so you had Odie build a big snowball in the yard and roll it into the kitchen. That's why his paws are so cold. Then Odie stood on the snowball and you stood on Odie. You used the screwdriver to open the lock, but the pie was still too hot. You had to grab it with the oven mitts, and that left a telltale thread in your claws. After that, Odie rolled the snowball back out the door, and you used the towels to wipe up the melted snow. There, I've solved the mystery. Nice try, John, said Garfield, but you couldn't solve your way out of a paper bag. At that moment, the phone rang. It was John's grandmother. Grandma, I have some bad news about your pie, John said. Really? She said. Why? It looks fine to me. You have the pie? Said John. Of course. I stopped by while you were gone. By the way, Odie was scratching at the door, so I let him out. Naturally, he tracked snow all over the kitchen when he came back in, but I wiped it up with the paper towels. Oh, said John. Why was the pie in a bird cage? I had a tough time opening that lock with my hairpin. Fortunately, I haven't completely lost the knack. But the screwdriver, said John. That's the one I borrowed from you last month. Thought you might want it back. Try the cookies I left. See you at the party. John hung up the phone and slumped to the floor. The paper towels, the screwdriver, the culprits. I had it all wrong, Garfield. Well, John, it won't be the last time. But what about that thread in your claws? Remember the blue drapes in the living room? While you were out, they met with an untimely shredding. John sighed. Guess I'm not such a great detective. That's elementary, my dear Arbuckle. John stood up. An empty plate on the counter caught his eye. Hey, said John, what happened to the cookies Grandma left for me? Garfield patted his tummy. Gee, John, I haven't a clue. And that's the end of that story. Also, here's the illustration of what John was picturing. I've got to say, I like the way John thinks, even if it is very simple. All right, so I'm going to take a little pause, if you will, from the book, because if we're going to be doing a live stream about Paranormal Day, then we might as well talk about something paranormal. Don't worry, I will come back to the book, but just for the moment, to kind of keep with the theme and not just have a bunch of creepy puppets in the background while I read children's stories, I just want to, kind of ease into the spook factor, that stuff. That is, if you don't mind listening. Brief pause while we wait. Yeah. Okay, cool. All right, so let's see. I've had a few weird encounters over the course of my life, so I'm trying to think of which one I could tell that would be of interest. Oh, I've got one. Okay. So this one didn't happen to me personally, but it happened in the house I was living in at the time while my sister and I were away at school, I think. This would have been about middle school? No. Grade school. Regardless, uh, my family was living in southern Ohio in a little town, little city, little whatever you want to call it, little podunk little place called Tuscarawas County. And things were not great in this house. I don't want to get too into detail, but hold on, let me move the wire here. Is it me or am I the only person talking in the chat? Yeah, at the moment it's just you, but I'm sure once other people come into the stream and join in, then we'll have more people in the chat. But
getting back to what I was saying initially, um, yeah, things were not. It was not a happy time living in Southern Ohio, but yeah. So anyway, moving back to talking about the incident at the house. So the house we were living in was a very old one. I'm not sure the exact age of it. All I know is it was way out in the hills, way out in the boonies. Like, to kind of set the scene for you, we had only a handful of neighbors that lived nearby. It was our house in the middle of the little road. There was like a road that ran in front of it. There was a neighbor to our right, there was a neighbor to our left, and that was about it. There was a hill on the other side of the road that kind of was one of those steep hills that went off. And I think there was like one house at the top of this hill. It's been over a decade since I lived there, so I'm going off memory. There was the house up there, and then way off down the road, like a way off, there were a couple other houses, but they're not important to the story. And behind the house, there was a little strip of road that connected the driveways. And then beyond that was some woods. And then beyond that was like a, uh, a highway, I think. Highway, freeway, whatever. But regardless, the house itself, like I was saying, was old. We had a fuel oil heater. And those aren't very common anymore. I don't think they were very common at the time either. And the heater doesn't have anything to do with the story, but that's just to give you an idea of the age of this house. So, as I was saying, this didn't take place while I or my sister or my siblings were there. From what I've heard, a glass on a table in the living room, my mother and father, or it was just my mother, I forget which, was in the living room just watching TV, or the two of them were talking or something. And the cup just, oops, out of the blue, just went whoop, raised up off the table, moved like a foot or so, and just dropped like a stone to the floor and shattered on the carpet. There were other instances that took place in the house too. One that I actually remember seeing was my sister had a bunch of her stuffed animals on the stairs leading up to the upper half of the house. And I happened to be walking through the living room and I was heading for the bathroom, I believe. To kind of give the layout, we had the living room area, or no, I'm getting ahead of myself. Okay. Picture this square is the house. We had so you would come in from the front door, and here was the kitchen area, and just outside of that was our front porch. And then if you went straight through the kitchen and to the left, there was a door leading down to the basement, and it also had like storm cellar doors. Like you'd open up the basement door, and there was a storm cellar door you had to open up as well. That led down into the basement. But backing up, if you made a left immediately after you got into the house, here was the living room. And then there was, if you made another left, our parents' bedroom was over here. And if you kept on going through the living room and made a right, there was a bathroom over here and a set of stairs leading up to the second story of the house. So for this part of the story, I was heading for that bathroom just by the staircase. And well, I made it to in front of the stairs, and I just happened to turn over and look for whatever reason. And my sister's stuffed giraffe just kind of tilted its head a little bit and then slumped forward and knocked off all of the stuffed animals off the stairs. That was some pretty freaky stuff when you're just a little kid. Seeing something like that. It was not fun, I'll put it that way. I had other nights where there was just something in the upstairs half of the house where mine and my sister's bedrooms happened to be that just never felt right. like when we would be up there, unless my sister and I were playing, we were just like doing our own things in our different rooms. I always felt weird being in the upstairs half of the house. Another thing I can talk about with this house, it's not really supernatural, I guess. This was kind of a more natural thing that happened. And this was a big omen of the amount of garbage that we were going to have to deal with living down there. The first night, the very first night that we were moving into this stupid house, we were, bringing stuff in from my my parents' cars, and all of a sudden, I was upstairs. I just put something in what was to be my bedroom. The power for the entire house, I believe the entire block, because there was only like 4 or 5 houses, just went out. We were having, I think it was a bit of a thunderstorm. I just remember being up there in the room, and one of my uncles who was helping us out with bringing stuff into the house happened to be standing halfway up the stairs. He was smoking a cigarette at the time. And I only bring that up because I remember freaking the fuck out, pardon my language, freaking out because, just one minute everything's all happy and everything, and then suddenly, pow, power's out. And little dork who's terrified of the dark is suddenly in this big open room with a stairway right in front of me, and I can't see dip diddly except for the little orange glowing end of my uncle's cigarette while he's standing on the stairs. So in my panic, I just focused on that thing like I was staring at the most wonderful thing in the world, just watching it like get brighter and dim as he kept puffing on it. So that should have been a very, very big omen that things were not going to go well in that house, that things were not going to go well in Southern Ohio, and they didn't. They did not. Southern Ohio sucked. And my apologies to any of my listeners who may happen to live in Southern Ohio. If you love living there, it's great for you. It wasn't for me. It drove me to trying to step off this mortal coil. I'll put it that way. But yeah, if you like living in Southern Ohio, good for you. But obviously, thankfully, I didn't succeed. Anyway, enough of that for now. So those are just a couple of the experiences I've had over the course of my lifetime. Um, what about you, Alina's Kitty World? Have you ever had anything weird like that happen? Like lights going out in a random room, hearing something off in the distance inside your house when there's no one there, or anything kooky and spooky? Good evening, gentlemen. Hope you're having a good time. Let me put that bottom. And a pro tip for anyone who decides to do like live streams like this: water, good. Soda with lots of sugar and salt in it, bad. Okay, let's see. I see you've responded. Just give me one moment. Let's see. When I was little, I was talking to my friends on my phone when I heard something whispering or knocking on my back door, and I was terrified. So I started locking my room door, and then, oh no. Oh no, 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 no. Oh my goodness. That must have been a thing. Um, I was. Well, you were scared as a cat fell on a trash can. Okay, that would be really trippy. And that reminds me of some another story. But if there's more to yours, feel free to continue.
It's awfully quiet in here. I'm going to find some royalty-free spooky music while you continue if you wish. YouTube. Let's do. Boop. Hello to any viewers who are just now tuning in. Oh, cool. Goosebumps #1 Aussie fan just uploaded a new video about an hour ago. I'll have to check that out after the stream. Okay. Royalty free. Not royalty fee. Free spooky music. Nope, that's a commercial. Come on now. Okay, it's supposed to be playing. Okay, that is kind of spooky. Broken piano is what this is called. Hopefully y'all can hear that decently. I've got to keep it within eyesight because I've got this on autoplay and I don't want it to just randomly play something. You know, something with copyrighted music. Let's see. There's more. When I was with my cousin, me and my cousin heard something knock on her window, and me and my cousin was Garn and me too. Oh, she was scared, and you too. I could imagine that being pretty freaky. All right, if I may share another one. Should probably turn that down just a little bit. Ah, okay, I see. All right, but is it all right if I tell another one? This one's a bit more spooky. It's pretty good. Wasn't expecting it to be this good for royalty free. Okay. So something that probably a lot of my newer subscribers. Okay, good. This one's another royalty free one. Some of my subscribers, some of y'all new folks may not be aware of this, but unfortunately, my mother is no longer among the living. She passed away over a decade ago, and well, I'm not going to focus too deeply and too hard on that because it is still a bit of a tender subject. But after her passing, my sister and I went to live with our grandparents in their house, which thankfully happened to be only a couple of blocks away. Um, Another story, another little side tangent. Not going to delve too deeply into this, but when my mother was still around, we were living with her and our father
And let's just say that our father was not the nicest individual. He liked to, let's just say, he liked to unwind with a lot of booze. And, well, he was not a very pleasant individual when he was, boozing it up. I'll put it that way. But like I said, I'm not going to delve too deeply into that. That's for another day. So after our mother passed away, my sister and I decided that we were going to move in with our grandparents. We checked with them first to see if it was okay because they also knew how much of an unkind individual our father was when he would get drunk. And they okayed it, and we went and lived with them. We tried to do it kind of sly at first, like we just told our father that we were going to go live with her, with our grandmother, or not going to live with her. We were going to stay with her for a bit, while our emotions calmed down and everything. But we never technically actually went back after that. We just kind of stayed there. And eventually he caught on. It took him a good while, though. And Dad, if you're watching this, I don't know why you would be, because you never really gave a rip about anything that I do. Why would you be watching my YouTube channel? But if you are watching this, hi. There's a certain finger I'd like to hold up, but can you read between the lines, Dad? Anyway, so, like I was saying, what was I saying? Right, we moved over into our grandparents' house after the unfortunate demise of our mother. And for those curious, it was cancer. So we were staying over there, and one night, my sister and I were heading for bed, getting ready to go to sleep. And I was messing with her a little bit, because we were trying to be as normal as we could be given the circumstances. And so I was messing with her a little bit, like, ooh, spooky, blah, 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 blah. And she had a touch lamp in her bedroom. The kind of lamps that don't have like an on-off switch or like anything like that. You actually have to like touch the metal, and then it's like a reverse dimmer switch. Dim, brighter, brightest, and then it goes off. You know what I'm talking about, I hope. And as I was messing with her and being like, blah, 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 and doing that, all of a sudden, the little lamp in the corner of her room started flickering. It was on at its highest level, I believe. And she and I were like, blah, 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 and she was like, stop it, blah, 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 and then flicker. And then I was like, I just stared at the lamp, looked at her, looked at the lamp, looked at her. And without missing a beat, being the jerk that I was back then, I'm not even going to lie, I just got this big, awkward smile, and I was just like, grabbed a hold of the doorknob. Good night. And I closed the door, and she's like, no, 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 no. Another one of these. Same house, same situation. This was within several weeks of the passing, as was the previous story. That was a little sooner after. I was in my room in the house, and I was struggling with a video game. I had a copy of Toy Story for the Sega Genesis. Oh, excuse me. And I knew I was going to struggle with this one part. Pardon me. I think I just heard thunder. Like, not part of the music, actual thunder. Just put that on pause for a minute. If there's more, we'll hear it. Anyways, actually, hold on just a second. I got an idea. This is going to elevate things. Okay, that's going to change the light. Not gonna lie though, for a hot second, that That startled me. Anyway, now that that's happened, and it does prove how sensitive that light switch is. I dimmed the lights just enough, and he went, "Jingle bells," and I went, uh, "I know, right?" It was very cheap at the Goodwill, and I just couldn't pass it up. My uncle used to have one of these way back in the day when I was a little kid, a little ghoul, as I would say, and just I wanted one so bad for the longest time, and then finally, like last year, the year before, when they started opening things back up again, I saw that guy laying on a shelf, and I was just like, "Yay!" I got so happy. I think it was only a couple of dollars, but I'm getting way off topic here. So, like I was saying, I was trying really hard to do good at this game, which, to reiterate, was Toy Story for the Sega Genesis. Not that that matters too much. And I knew I was going to be struggling with it, so on the computer that I had in the room, I pulled up a Let's Play of that game and had that exact part of the game that I was struggling with pulled up on the screen. Now, this was one of those computers that had like the old computer monitors on it, where if the color on it started going funny, you would push this little button on the side of the screen, and everything would turn like all rainbow colored and stuff, and it would make a boom, like a static crackle, like boom, kind of sound. Well, like I said, I was struggling with this game. I was trying really hard at it and getting myself really, really frustrated and really angry. And mind you, I was facing away from the computer. To kind of put it in perspective for you, I'll just use my hands for this. The computer desk was like this. Like the computer monitor would be like right here where my fingertips are. And the computer tower was over to the side, and the entire computer desk was like an L. So I was sitting facing away from the computer monitor, looking at my little TV with my Sega set up next to it, and just jamming the thumbs, jamming the buttons, just like getting so mad at this game. The part in question, I believe, would have been, and this is not important to the story, the part of the game where you're Woody inside the claw machine and you're trying to whip those stupid squeak toy aliens up to knock Buzz out of the claw machine. That part, I have stories about that, but we'll not talk about that here. I was at that part of the game, I believe, and I was just getting more and more frustrated because Sid kept taking Buzz off screen, and then I'd lose a life and I'd have to try again and getting nowhere fast. And all of a sudden, from behind me, the computer screen out of nowhere degaussed itself. The boom kind of sound just snapped me completely out of my headspace of like, come on, you son of. And I just turned and saw the computer screen going back to its normal colors. And I just kind of looked up wistfully and I was like, thanks, Mom. I don't know if it was actually her doing that, kind of bringing me back to my senses and reminding me, hey, stupid, you got the thing over here. Not that I think my mother would ever call me stupid, although I'm sure she has. Well, had. But yeah. Hold on. Let me bring that back up to the front. I get a bad. Oh, I know, right? I get mad at every game I play, and Claw Machine's OMG is so hard. The only prize I win from a Claw Machine was a Garfield plush. Nice, I approve. Not that you need my approval. You're you, you do your thing. But let's see. Let's see. Anything else? No, for the moment, I can't really think of much else. I'm sure, I know I've got more. I'm positive I've got more of those kind of weird stories and like kooky things that happened to me over my life. But I think for the moment, let's pop back over to reading stuff. With that said, would you like me to read more Garfield, or would you like me to pop over to one of my book of scary stories? I do have one set of scary stories that I could read, but given the late hour and my overactive imagination, I'm going to kind of refuse, but I'm going to let you all know that I have them, even though some of you should know already. The Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark series. I have all three of the books, plus the In a Dark, Dark Room and other spooky stories. But anyway, like I said, you already know I've got the Garfield's Tales of Mystery, Scary Stories for Stormy Nights, even more scary stories for sleepovers, Scared Silly stories to make you gasp and giggle, strange stories of the supernatural, and 13 ghostly tales. I've got more, but those are just the ones that I have at hand. Okay, yes, read those. Okay, which one? I don't know if y'all heard that. There was that thunder again. I knew tonight was going to be a good night to do this. Well, here, I'll hold them up. Get them in the right order. And there we go. Just 1 through 5. We'll say, oh, wait, is it 5? 1, 2, 3. Okay, 1 through 6. 13 ghostly tales. Okay, that works. All right. All right, all right, all right. And maybe a left. Okay. So let's see. Ooh, this one has some of the scary stories to tell in the dark stories in it. Okay. I know the perfect one. The very first story in this book. I think you'll like it. Alina's Kitty World. Sorry, I keep having to look at your name. Anyway, this one, I don't know if you've heard of this, but it's titled Wait Till Martin Comes. And it does have cats in it. Here's the illustration that goes with the story. So here we go. Wait Till Martin Comes by Leach. Maria Leach. That big house down the road was haunted. Nobody could live in it. The door was never locked, but nobody ever went inside. Nobody would even spend a night in it. Several people had tried, but came running out pretty fast. One night, a man was going along that road, on his way to the next village. He noticed that the sky was blackening. No moon, no stars. Big storm coming for sure. He had a long way to go. He knew he couldn't get home before it poured, so he decided to take shelter in that empty house by the road. This is the first time I've read anything from this book, just so y'all know. Uh, he had heard it was haunted, but shucks, who believes in ghosts? No such thing. So he went in. He built himself a nice fire on the big hearth, pulled up a chair, and sat down to read a book. He could hear the rain beating on the windows. Lightning flashed, the thunder cracked around the old building. But he sat there reading. Next time he looked up, there was a little gray cat sitting on the hearth. That was all right, he thought. Cozy. He went back to reading. The rain went on raining, and pretty soon he heard the door creak, and a big black cat came sauntering in. The first cat looked up. What are we going to do with him? Wait till Martin comes, said the other cat. The man went right on reading.
Pretty soon, he heard the door creak. Ooh, oh, nice. Pretty soon, he heard the door creak, and a big. Oh wait. Sorry, I skipped back a little bit. Pretty soon, he heard the door creak, and another great big black cat, this one as big as a dog, came in. "What we going to do with him?" said the first cat. "Wait till Martin comes." The man was awful scared by this, but he kept looking in the book, pretending to be reading. Pretty soon, he heard the door creak, and a giant black cat, as big as a calf, came in. He stared at the man. "Shall we do it now?" he said. "Wait till Martin comes," said the others. With that, the man just leaped out of the chair and out the window and down the road, and he shouted back over his shoulder, "You tell Martin that I couldn't wait!" And that was Wait Till Martin Comes. I've got to say that one was okay. I kind of embellished the ending by using the ending from the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark version, because this one is literally very, very simple. "Wait till Martin comes," said the others. The man just leaped out of the chair and out the window and down the road. "Tell Martin I couldn't wait," he said. See, it's not as good as the other one. Okay. Let's see, the trunk in the attic. How long is that one? Well, thank you very much. I'm kind of just slipping over a little bit into my Oktoberfest voice. Now, let's see. Let's find another short one. Railroad Ghost. Let's see. Okay, let's check out the Railroad Ghost. Okay, Railroad Ghost by Murray T. Pringle. That can't be a real name. It was a spooky night. As the crack British Express train raced through the chilly darkness, fog began to close in around it. It was just the sort of night anything can happen. A night one might even expect to see a ghost. Dun dun dun. Now, running a train isn't easy anytime, but on this particular evening, it was really hard work. Fog pressed in on the speeding train from all sides, like thick folds of velvet. Even with the powerful headlights stabbing into the darkness ahead, the engineer had to strain his eyes so he could see the track. He was very much annoyed at the fog, because today of all days he wanted to make a record run. And the reason was that Queen Victoria herself was among the several hundred passengers on the train. Suddenly, a horrified gasp escaped his lips. Dead ahead, and outlined in the brilliant beam of the engine's headlamp, a figure in a black cloak stood in the middle of the tracks, waving his arms frantically. The engineer made a desperate grab for the brakes and brought the express to a screeching halt. After quieting the excited and frightened passengers, the trainmen got out to investigate. They searched and called, but there was no sign of the mysterious figure who had flagged their train. Oh, excuse me. Who had he been, and why had he stopped the train? The crewmen were puzzled. They decided someone had been playing a joke. Even the engineer was almost convinced that it had either been somebody's poor idea of a joke or his imagination playing tricks. But he wasn't absolutely sure. Just to make certain, he swung around from his cab and walked up the tracks. Suddenly his face grew pale and his heart beat rapidly. There, a scant 200 yards ahead of the stopped train, he found a washed-out bridge. The whole thing had toppled into the swollen stream. If it not had been for the mysterious flagman, the train would have plunged into the stream, killing the passengers and crew. While the bridge and tracks were being repaired, the train crew made another search, but they could find not the slightest trace of the strange figure who had saved the train. Not until the train reached London safely was the mystery solved. Lying at the base of the locomotive headlamp, the engineer found a huge dead moth. Most people would have brushed the insect off and thought no more about it, but the engineer held the insect in his hand and frowned thoughtfully. Then he did a strange thing. He wet the wings of the moth and carefully pasted it to the glass of the headlamp. Then he climbed back into the cab of the engine and switched on the light. "Aha!" he cried triumphantly. "I thought so." For as the bright beam stabbed ahead into the darkness, there appeared once again the phantom the engineer had seen earlier. But now the arms weren't waving wildly. They were still. The mysterious rescuer had been this huge moth. Somehow, in the few seconds before the train reached the wrecked bridge, it had flown into the beam of the headlight, and because of the dense fog, the trapped insect had resembled a cloaked figure waving its arms. Many people, including the Queen of England herself, had been saved. Did this really happen? Well, if you're ever in London, go to the Museum of Natural History and ask to see the Victorian moth. You will be shown a huge moth in a glass case. The moth the British call the Phantom Flagman. Okay, that one, I don't know why, but that one's pretty spooky. It might be the ambience, however you want to say the word, of like the rain outside and the thunder, but just ugh. Hashtag poor moth. Yes, indeed, that poor moth. All right, let's see. Let's find another short one. Okay, here we go. The Dare by Maria Leach. Her again. Okay. Let's see. Once there was a bunch of youngsters sitting in front of a fire telling ghost stories and trying to scare each other. There had been a funeral in the village that day. An old man had been buried that afternoon, an old man noted for his crankiness and cussing. The boys used to torment him, just to hear him rage in helpless fury. One of the group, if anyone walked. Well, let me try that again. One of the group said if anyone walked on the old man's grave at midnight, he would reach up and grab him. "Oh, don't be silly. No such thing," said a boy named Jim. "Well, I dare you," said another. "I dare you." "I dare you." They all joined in. "All right," said the bragging one. "I don't believe in ghosts. I'll do it." "I dare you." "I'll do it. And I'll stick my jackknife in the grave, and you can all come and see it after midnight if you dare." So the party broke up. Just before midnight, the boy named Jim started for the graveyard. It was awful quiet. The tombstones made long shadows in the moonlight. He was pretty scared, but he could not back out now. So he went on. Could that old geezer really reach up and grab him? He wondered. He wished he had not been so smart and taken on this dare. But he went on. He came to the grave. He took out his jackknife and opened it. He knelt down and jabbed it blindly into the mound over the grave. Then he started to get up and run home, but he couldn't move. Something had grabbed him. He could not budge from the grave. An hour after midnight, the boys went fearfully to the graveyard to see if Jim had left his jackknife sticking in the grave. When they got there, they saw Jim, by the light of the moon, laying in a little heap on the new-made mound. In his haste and panic, he had thrust the knife through his own coat tails. He had pinned himself to the old man's grave and had fainted from fright. The Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark version is a bit darker than that. In that one, same setup, basically the same setup, but
the girl in this story, because it was a girl, she was out there wearing her dress for whatever reason, out in the dark, and she did the same thing. Obviously, it wasn't coattails. She stabbed it through her skirt, and because of such, she thought that whoever was in the grave had grabbed her, like this said. And according to what I recall from that particular version of the story, the girl wound up passing away from a heart attack because she scared herself that badly. This one, he just, passed out in a faint. She was gone. She was. But anyway, let's see. The Wild Ride and the Tilt Cart. How long is this one? It's a bit on the longer side. It's still going. Ghost with one sock. Okay, let's have a listen to The Ghost with One Sock. It's a very short story. That page I just showed you, that's literally it. The Ghost with One Sock, retold by Freya Littledale? Yeah, Littledale. Once there was a man who died with only one sock on. After the funeral, he kept coming back to his old house. Every night he came back at the stroke of midnight. His wife was so scared she moved from that place, but he found her. So his wife moved again. So she kept on moving, and he kept coming back. One day she couldn't stand moving anymore, so that night she asked him, "What is it you want? Why do you keep haunting me?" "Please," he said, "could I have my other sock?" So she gave him the other sock, and to this day he has never been seen again. Okay, I like that one. That's silly. All right, so let's see. Most Haunted House. How long is that one? The Witch in the Wintry Wood. If anyone else has joined the stream, feel free to say hello over in the chat. Just kind of reading books and talking about spooky stuff because it's apparently National Paranormal Day. I had to think for a second because I was going to say paranormal. I was going to say supernatural again. But The Witch in the Wintry Wood. Oh, it's another short one. Okay. So, The Witch in the Wintry Wood. Before I read this, I'm going to check how old this book is because I'm curious now. Okay, I'm sure it isn't correct, but according to this, it's between 1966 and 1981. So we'll say this is probably from about 1981. So that's an old book. Only me and one person is here. I have a sneaking suspicion that other person is technically me because I have this stream pulled up so I can have the chat over there. But it's okay. Then again, this was a very impromptu stream. I just threw it up onto the internet at random because this appealed to me. The fact that it's Paranormal Day, I just couldn't let it get past me. I couldn't let it go. Even though I worked a 12-hour shift at work, when I saw that on Facebook, I was just like, I'm doing this. I have to do this. It's a nice, rainy, stormy night. It's Paranormal Day. Let's do this thing, were the thoughts that ran through my head. So let's continue to do that thing. Okay, so The Witch of the Wintry Wood by Aileen Fisher. Aileen Fisher. Okay. This is the story of Timid Tim who thought the witches went after him. Oh, it's kind of a poem. Okay. This is the story of Timid Tim who thought the witches went after him. When the night was dark and the moon was dim, woo, woo,
This is the tale of how Tim one night didn't start home until candlelight, when the sky was black and the snow was white. Woo hoo, woo hoo, woo hoo. He walked through the woods like a frightened goat, his muffler twisted around his throat, expecting to jump at a witch's note. Woo hoo, woo hoo, woo hoo. Out of the night came a sheepdog's yowl, which Tim was sure was a witch's howl, a terrible witch on a wintry prowl. Woo hoo, woo hoo, woo hoo. Tim the timid began to race, certain he sighted a witch's face back of each shadowy hiding place. Woo hoo, woo hoo, woo hoo. Sorry if that's getting annoying, but that's literally how it goes. So you like the woo at the end of each line. He ran through the woods on his lonely trek till horrors. He ran through the woods on his lonely trek till horrors, a hand went around his neck, holding his headlong flight to it in check. His headlong flight in check. Woo hoo, woo hoo, woo hoo. Around his throat went a witch's hand that jerked poor Tim to a sudden stand. His heart was water, his legs were sand. Woo hoo, woo hoo, woo hoo. Nobody knows how long he stood with that hand on his throat in the silent wood, until he found, until he could find some hardihood. Woo hoo, woo hoo, woo hoo. Then he looked around like a shaky calf, thinking of words for his epitaph. And oh ho ho, he began to laugh. Woo hoo, woo hoo, woo hoo. For what he saw was a funny sight. It wasn't a witch at his throat that night, but a pine branch pulling his muffler tight. Woo hoo, woo hoo, woo hoo. And there you go. Sorry that I was stumbling all over the place with that one. Just the way it's worded, it's not like the modern kind of English where it's like can't instead of can not, couldn't instead of could not. The way we do things now, and words that I don't think I've heard before, like hardihood. Like I get what it's supposed to mean, like his courage, and I had to make it rhyme, but at the same time, anyway. Let's see. The Ghost Dog of South Mountain. How long is that one? Okay, no, 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 no. Definitely not reading the next one. It's called The Thing at the Foot of the Bed. And that's one of my fears that I have. Although the way I've got my room situated, the foot of my bed is against the wall, so if anything was at the foot of my bed, it would be standing over me, looking down on me. And no, 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 bad thoughts, bad thoughts. Ooh, this might have actually been kind of a bad idea. I'm just going to take a look. Oh. Okay, The Thing at the Foot of the Bed. I'm going to read that one. Oh, wait, what? Move the cursor to here so I can do the thing. My cat is looking out the window and it's pitch black out. Oh, it's looking out the. Well, it probably just sees an owl or a bird or something outside. It should be fine. Excuse me. But The Thing at the Foot of the Bed, I went ahead and I looked at the ending of it. It's one of those silly stories, but the title was like, oh, no, no, no. Okay. Well, if you don't mind me reading another one, then I think we'll pause and
figure out something else to do for a little bit. Just realized, where is he? Jerry over here is kind of giving me the side eye. I see you over there. Shall I read the thing at the foot of the bed, or shall we do something else from it? Just wanted to say, pardon. Where is the thingy? There it is. Just wanted to say that I love getting into paranormal stuff and horror, and I really like watching your video. Oh, thank you very much. I do, like I say at the end of most of my videos, I do truly appreciate that. Thank you for your kind words. All right, I'll go ahead and read this, and then I guess we can, something else can be done. So, The Thing at the Foot of the Bed by Maria Leach. Once there was a man, and they dared him to sleep all night in a haunted house. All right, he said. He wasn't scared of anything. He'd sleep there. No such thing as ghosts. Anyway, or no such thing as ghosts anyway. So he went into the house and looked around. Everything looked all right, so he went upstairs. Everything looked all right there, too. So he went to bed. He lay in bed a while and listened. He didn't hear anything, so he went to sleep. It was a warm night, so he had no covers but a sheet. The man slept a while, and then suddenly he woke up. He listened. He didn't hear anything. The moon was shining bright through the open window. So very, very carefully, very quietly, he looked around. And he saw down at the foot of his bed two shiny eyes staring right at him. They looked something like this. It's this image right here. They didn't even blink. Was that a head? A face? The man thought he could make out the top of a flat, crooked head. He was scared. He didn't dare move, but softly, very softly, he slid his hand up under the pillow and pulled out the revolver he'd brought with him. He aimed at the thing right between the eyes. He was so scared, though, that his hand trembled and wiggled and shook. And Hank! The poor scared fool had shot off his own big toe. And it tells you the silly part of it. His feet were sticking out from below the sheet, and the moonlight shining on the nails of his big toes looked like two ghostly eyes. Could you imagine? You're just laying there, and all of a sudden you look down, and it's your own toenails glistening in the darkness, and you're like, but your brain doesn't register it. You're just like, oh my
It's a demon, and you're just like, kill it. Then you hit your target, and then you hurt yourself so badly. That poor sucker. That poor doof. But with that, I'm going to pause on the reading bit for a bit. Would you care to hear any more of my personal stories of the supernatural? It's completely up to you. I swear, though, if that tree goes off, don't do it. Don't do it. Oh, sure. Okay. Just let me get a little water. My throat's getting a little raspy. All this talking will do that to you. All right, then let's see. I know I've got more stories, more spooky tales. Just have to think of them. Well, I've actually got one about one of my puppets. Now, I don't know how many of my videos you've seen, but have you seen like Bozo's Day Out or any of my any of my videos with that creepy clown puppet? Excuse me. I'm just waiting for eventually one of these dorks back here is going to do something. All right. Well, this story involves when I first got him. Now, pardon me, I'm just stretching out my legs a bit. This chair is not the most comfortable thing in the world after a while. Oh, did Bozo give you nightmares? If so, I'm sorry. Um, but anyway, in that case, I probably shouldn't tell this story right now then, if Bozo was giving you nightmares like that. Okay, I will let you decide. Should I tell this story, or do you want me to save it for another video or something? Don't any of you do anything back there. I will see you. Oh, okay, okay. It's hard to tell, through just text. All right. In that case, I'll go ahead and tell you, and any other viewers who may watch this down the line. So with that Bozo puppet, originally I purchased him off of eBay. I believe I mentioned this in my ventriloquist figure collection video series I did. Okay, I'm working on it. I'm working on it. Uh, so, like I was saying, I got him off of eBay, and originally when I purchased him, he was in pretty rough shape. Not gonna lie, as I believe I mentioned in that video. Like
I don't know what got on him, but something caused the fabric on his torso to just rot away over time. So I had to go in and like take out all the stuffing and restuff him and put a new piece of fabric over it to hold the new stuffing in, et cetera, et cetera. But that's not what is important to this story. I like spiritual. Me too. But as I was saying, so at the time, my friend actually bought it for me using their eBay account, and I paid them back the money. And Bozo wound up at my friend's house. And while he was there, my friend brought him in off the front porch, you know, the box he was in, and put it on their kitchen table. And they left the room for a bit. And I will let you all know now, this friend has several animals, or at the time they were living with their parents who have several animals, cats and a couple huskies, I believe, at the time. And just randomly, they were in the living room. The box was on their dining room table, like a room over, and they just heard a thump, and then it was like a bang and a thump. So obviously they go to check it out, and the box, they don't remember if it had this in it or it was like this before or not, but the box had a big dent in the side of it, like someone punched it, and was now laying on the floor. And the animals did not want to go anywhere near that box. So pretty soon after that, my friend got a hold of me. I was like, "Hey, your thing's here. Can you come and get it, please?" So I went and got the box. I, brought it home, restored Bozo to his former glory, or as close to as I could handle, or close to as I could manage, and that was the story of Spooky Bozo. His first day in my friend's house, and he didn't stay there very long. Thankfully, I haven't had any experiences like that with Bozo personally. Goodness knows, having said that, he's going to do something. But there you go. That was my spooky story about Bozo the clown, ventriloquist puppet. Let's see. Oh, and I have another story not related to the puppets, thankfully, but it involves some action figures I have on a shelf over here. Just gonna turn this and hope you all don't see too much of the mess behind me. Lean this back a bit. Hello, Mr. Waffle. Thank you for joining the stream. But as I was saying, this next story involves this quartet over here. Let me get my finger in the right spot there. Come on now. There we go. Paul Stanley, Gene Simmons, Ace Frehley, and Peter Criss, known as Kiss. And of course, their friend, if I can point at him, Captain Action. But anyway, this story involves those guys. And that is what time it is over here right now, in case y'all were wondering. Oh, and Mr. Waffle, in case you're wondering why the Christmas tree is out here along with my ventriloquist puppet figures, that's because we're doing a little, I guess you'd almost call it a little paranormal investigation almost. Just waiting to see if anything's going to happen with that goofy tree. It's one of those old Douglas fir trees. It's a little animated thing. See if I can't get him to go off. He does that kind of nonsense. Hopefully that's not too loud or annoying for you. And unfortunately, I can't shut him off. Just got to let him do his thing. But the reason he's there is because just in case any of my ventriloquist figures back here are spirited, any spirits attached will be able to set him off. And if they do, then we know we've got a spook. Which is probably a bad idea doing this where I am, because I'm literally in my bedroom with all my ventriloquist puppets over here. But getting back to the story I was referring to involving my Kiss action figures over there. Mr. Waffle, did you leave? Oh well, I probably talked a little too much about the Christmas tree or the jingle bells, threw him off. But what can you do? Or it could be his connection's bad. It might be trying to watch on like a cell phone in a bad reception spot. Anyways, so getting back to what I was saying about the Kiss figures, just gonna try. Yeah, I'll move myself into the way because I'm sure y'all don't want to stare at that mannequin head over there while I'm talking. Or you do. I don't know. It's your life. So this took place a couple of months ago now, I think. Yeah, it was, I believe, sometime in the either in the fall or this past winter that my friend was doing pretty badly. What am I trying to say here? They were working for a job that they really hated. I don't want to get into too many details, but it was one of those phone companies where they call random people and ask them a bunch of stupid questions. And well, my friend hated it to the point where they were starting to have a nervous breakdown every time it was time for them to log in and go to work. So during this point in time, before they wound up quitting that job, they were working in their office, which ironically just so happens to be below my bedroom here. And they were just having a terrible time that night. My sister and I, we both live in this house, along with her fiance, the friend who lives with us. I am all over the place right now. Regardless, she was in the bathroom over here brushing her teeth, and I was standing in the hall talking with her, getting ready to go to bed myself. And then just all of a sudden, out of the blue, there was just this whack that came from right here in my bedroom, where the Kiss figures were being stored at the time. Pardon, I've got a little something in my throat. And I come into the bedroom. Give me just a second, because I got a photograph of this. Camera roll. Scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. Doot, 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 scrolling. So I come around the corner hesitantly, and I open the door, and everything seemed okay, but I was still kind of shaken because, the heck was that sound? And I look over at the shelf, and I'm like, something's missing. So hold on, let me turn up the brightness on my phone. No, come on, phone. So this is what the shelf looked like. My Kiss figures all standing awkwardly, Gene Simmons knocked over, and Captain Action knocked back behind Peter Criss. And on the floor was Paul Stanley, just face down, pointing in a direction he could not have landed if he had just fallen off the shelf like he should have. Because as you saw in that first image, they were standing facing forwards like this. And Paul was completely turned the other way, his head facing towards the shelf and his feet facing in a different direction. And there's just no reason he should have landed like that. That was a spooky time. That was definitely a bit of a spooky time at that point. Because there was no reason. All those action figures were standing up perfectly. Nothing should have knocked that over. Nothing could have knocked that over in the way that it did. I'm still waiting for that to happen again. But I have my theory as to what happened. And this actually plays back to another of the scary stories to tell in the dark books. But give me just a moment. I need more water because my throat is getting dry and scratchy. Don't mind me, I'm just being weird. That's spooky. Oh, trust me, it was a lot worse when it actually happened. Because our bathroom, the door I was standing at talking to my sister, was less than 4 feet away from where that happened. So I'm just standing there talking with her, and then just I'll use my water bottle to demonstrate. So how's your night going? That's good. That's good. Blah, 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 blah. I did not know he was sound activated. Good to know. All right, little ones, Christmas joys. Have a tremendous holiday. But anyway, just a loud whack, like that close, after I had just closed the door and gone around. Nope, 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 nope. Did not sit well with me at all. Okay, any others? Any others that I can think of? As a matter of fact, I do have another one, and it does involve one of these dorks behind me. As a matter of fact, it is about that guy right there that I'm pointing at, between this guy and that little fella. At the time, I had the boxes for trying to get pointed in the right direction here. The box for him and the box for him were stacked up right where those two are sitting right there. And he was situated right about where this fella is right here. I was getting ready for work way early in the morning. I was on the other side of that wall there in the bathroom, brushing my teeth, getting my things together. And I had just left this room moments before. And I just hear what sounded, honest to God, like someone going like quick little thumbs up like that. Like someone just opened up the door and was taking a few quick steps out into the hallway. And it freaked me the frig out. So I, gathered my courage after I finished brushing my teeth, because I was just to the point where you rinse and spit in the sink and, rinse again and you're done. So I finished that. I came around the corner. I checked. There was nobody there. So I was like, okay, that's creeping a bit. So then I moved from the hallway to the door over there, opened it, flicked on the light, and randomly, Jerry number 2 over there was suddenly leaned forward and slumped to the side, and the cardboard boxes that were sitting straight up and down next to him were laying on, like pushed up against him. So that was another trippy morning. Oh, sorry, I almost didn't see that you typed a message there. Give me just a second. Got to get myself out of the way so I can read your comment. When I was like in 2021, my dolls were left in my room. When I go to my grandma's, Then my favorite doll that I got from Once Upon a Child, I got from Once Abode Child, and it was standing on my table in my room. Okay, I'll give you that. That is pretty spooky. Not even going to lie. But the spookiest thing that has happened to me so far in this house, and thankfully at this point it's the last thing that's happened, and hopefully it stays that way. Well, okay, it's happened a couple of times, but I was hearing random disembodied, literally like the sound of someone trying to get your attention. I was in the living room, not far from here, sitting in a chair in the corner, just fiddling around on my phone, doing what I do, talking to people and whatnot. And over to my this isn't my right, that's my left. Over to my left, there was an empty chair. And before I continue with this, I was home alone. I believe, yeah, I was home alone when this happened. The only living soul that was in this house at the time that that took place, I was just sitting there, fiddling around on my phone, and just all of a sudden, I heard a quiet but rather insistent psst, psst, and not thinking anything about it, having completely forgotten I was the only one in the room, the only one in the house at the time, I just instinctively started to raise my head and look to the left, and I lifted my head a little bit, and I don't know why precisely, but something inside me just was like, like in those old Bugs Bunny cartoons where he's talking with the gremlin while the gremlin's trying to blow up an H bomb, and he's like just walking around like it's all cool, and then cling, that thing he does. That was basically me in that moment. Just had my phone right there, and then psst, psst. So I raised my head and I got right about this far, and then my entire body went no. My eyes like shut themselves, and I just refocused on that phone like it was the best thing in the world, and I just stared at my phone, just like, okay, that didn't happen. Nope. No, sir, that didn't happen. And I basically, after that, just kind of milled about on my phone for a few minutes until I got up the courage to get out of that chair. And I left the room and I went into, it was either my bedroom, the bathroom, or my office, but I went into one of those rooms and I just kind of stayed there until my housemates came home. I had another incident like that in my office, and that was the last one of these to date. I was sitting in my chair editing, and from directly behind me, because my chair is like butted up into a corner, there's those shelves that you've seen that's got like that jack-o'-lantern and like the little action figures and stuff in the front. And then that wall that's got that Goosebumps bed sheet hung up. Just in the from that corner and that spot right there. And that's the last time, the last of, no, sorry, the last I've heard anything like that in the house since. And I'm happy for it because that was some freaky stuff. I am not even going to lie. I'm not even pulling your leg. These are things that, honest to God, happened to me, and they scared me. The one thing that I'm very glad of is I haven't felt anything like touch me, because when that happens, I'm going to flip. Should say if that happens. Saying when is leaving the door open for that to happen. Anyway, hopefully I'm not scaring you or spooking you too much with these stories. Just another day in the life of Oxley Nations. Don't mind me, I'm just reaching for another bottle of water. Shall I read a couple more stories, or shall I go back to Garfield for a bit? Okay, that's good. That's good. Okay. So let's see. Let's take a thought here. Let's think for a moment. I'm gonna say I accidentally triggered that. That's what we're gonna roll with. I accidentally set him off by putting this on the storage tub. Oh, the train story one got me for a sec. Yeah, me too. Right at the point where the guy, right? Cursed tree, oh my god. But anyways, like I was saying, the one part of that story that did really trip me up was legitimately when the conductor first saw the guy out in the darkness. The illustration that goes with that was pretty trippy. Okay, now I'm suddenly starting to feel a cold spot. Oh joy. Okay, so let's not focus on that. Um, like legitimately, I'm feeling coldness in this area. Let's move on to reading some more Garfield, shall we? I'm starting to spook myself. Okay, so let's see. We read The Purloined Pie and The Case of the All Gone Goldfish. Let's go with The Clue in the Chicken Coop. Oh god, the cursed tree is summoned a ghost. It's quite possible. Then again, it could be that I'm, sitting so close to a window, and the change in the weather outside is causing the temperature in here to change. But I don't know that for certain. But anyway, let's go with The Clue in the Chicken Coop, page 5. Well, before I do that, though, I've just got to point out the artwork here. So good. Jim Davis outdid himself, if he's the one who did those. Okay. Page 5. Oh, dang. John's looking sharp in that sweater. And by sharp, I mean tacky. Excuse me, all this talking is making my stomach a little upset. But anyway, The Clue in the Chicken Coop. It's the chickens, Miss Arbuckle said to John over the phone. Come quick. John, Garfield, and Odie raced off to the Arbuckle farm. Every morning I find another hen, said Mrs. Arbuckle. You remember that we've always kept 10, never more, because your father can't stand them. Says they're messy and not real bright. But they look great on a plate, remarked. Oh, wait, wrong voice. But they look great on a plate, remarked Garfield. And then out of the blue, on Tuesday I counted 11. Wednesday there were 12. Every morning another one. This morning it was 15, and I don't know where they're coming from. Of course, I can't tell your father, he'd have a fit. And your brother Doc Boy is no help. He's too busy with his girlfriend. Doc Boy has a girlfriend? Asked John. I thought he was going steady with that. No. I thought he was going steady with the tractor, said Garfield. Anna May Fleener, replied Mrs. Arbuckle. Her dad used to have the egg business. Doc Boy's been out late every night this week. Have you noticed anything else unusual? John asked. Well, one of my aprons is missing. Don't worry, Mom. I'll get to the bottom of this, said John. Right after lunch, added Garfield. After lunch, Garfield and Odie checked out the chicken coop. While Odie nosed around for clues, Garfield questioned the new hens with no success. Another piece of that wonderful artwork from Jim Davis. Garfield, I hate Mondays. Don't we all? Those dumb clucks are no help, he told Odie. All they know is they crossed the road, but they can't figure out why. You find anything? Odie sniffed the air, then wrinkled his nose. Garfield sniffed. Something's rotten in this chicken coop, he said. Next, the pet detectives inspected the farmhouse. They checked Mr. and Mrs. Arbuckle's room. Then Garfield spent a long time investigating the refrigerator. After that, they peeked into Doc Boy's room. Doc Boy's good overalls were laid out on the bed. Must have another big night tonight, thought Garfield. Once again, Odie sniffed the air and wrinkled his nose. He pointed to a bottle on Doc Boy's dresser. Old Socks aftershave, said Garfield. This certainly smells familiar. Doc Boy's had a date every night this week. Odie, we're on to something. Let's find John. John was in the barn, gluing feathers to some feed sacks. I'm making a chicken disguise, he told his pets. John, we're not interested in your weird hobbies, said Garfield. Tonight I'll put this on and hide in the coop. If someone sneaks in with the chicken, I'll nab him. He pulled on the costume. Well, how do I look? Like a big turkey, said Garfield. But what else is new? That night, John, Garfield, and Odie waited in the darkened chicken coop. I'm glad you boys are here, said John. I was going to ask Doc Boy to join me, but he had a date. Why don't I ever have a date? Most women aren't attracted to poultry, observed Garfield. At that moment, they heard footsteps approaching the chicken coop. The hinges squeaked softly as the door opened. A shadowy figure stepped into the coop. Oh no.
Gotcha! Cried John, turning on his flashlight. There stood a startled, apron-clad dock boy holding an equally startled chicken. Dock boy? Said John. Unhand that hen, cried Garfield. Blinded by the light, Dock boy stepped into a bucket of seed and crashed into a row of sleeping hens, who began frightfully squawking. What's going on in there? Cried John's father. Mr. and Mrs. Arbuckle peered into the chicken coop. They saw Dock boy in Mrs. Arbuckle's apron and John in his chicken suit. I love you boys, said Mr. Arbuckle, but you got a strange idea of fun. Once the feathers stopped flying, Dock boy confessed everything. I did it for Anna May. Her father was going to sell the chickens, and she couldn't bear to see 'em all go, so I bought one of them. Thought if I snuck them into the coop one at a time, no one would notice. How many were you going to sneak in? Asked Mrs. Arbuckle. 50. Trust me, they'd have noticed, said Garfield. I never would have suspected you, Dock boy, said Mrs. Arbuckle. I did, said Garfield. I had a hunch the missing apron was a clue. Why would someone steal an apron? To protect their clothes. And who here had been wearing their good clothes? Dock boy. Well, when Odie and I smelled the old socks aftershave in the chicken coop and in Dock boy's room, I knew we had our man, but we had to catch him in the act. Thank goodness this is all over, said Mrs. Arbuckle. Let's celebrate with a midnight snack. I'll bet you could eat something, right, Garfield? Garfield grinned. That's no mystery. Oh, and if I didn't already show it, the artwork of Dock boy caught in the act. And there's Odie down there, covered up by my hand. Let's see, was that the end of it? Or was there another page? Oh, that was the end of it. The next one was a purloined pie. Let's go ahead and check your comment there. Me, but I has the bestest day ever on Mondays, but I also hate it too. And sometimes Mondays can be good, but generally it's the end of the weekend, so you're just better off without them most of the time. Or at least you feel that way. I know I did. Sorry, I thought I heard something. It's probably one of the neighbors outside doing something weird. Okay, so let's see now. Go back to the start of the book. We've read The Clue in the Chicken Coop, The Purloined Pie, and The Case of the All Gone Goldfish. Only 2 stories remain. Let's see here. What do you think? Should I read one of the last 2 Garfield stories, or shall I read something from one of the other books? Or do you want to just hear another one of my spooky tales? You have the right to choose, and the power is yours. Sorry, I got a little dry spot on my lip. Yes, read Garfield. Okay. More Garfield for Alina's Kitty World. Coming right up. All right. So there's 2 stories left. The Secrets of the Slippery Hippo and The Phantom of Funland. If you'd like to hear the Slippery Hippo one, just put the word hippo in the chat. If you want to hear the Funland one, just put Funland. So hippo or Funland. Yeah. I'm gonna get those royalty-free songs going.
Funland?
All right. Just let me get the royalty-free spooky sounds going, and then I'll get right on it. Come on now, phone. Easy now. Easy. Double check. Is this still okay? Yes. Now then, Funland, page 21. Should I say the Phantom of Funland? There we go. The Phantom of Funland. The old amusement park had been closed off for years, and the wooden gate creaked as the grim night watchman opened it. John and Garfield stepped inside. "What do you want?" asked the watchman. "We're looking for my dog," John explained. "Odie was chasing fireflies and followed them through a hole in your fence. He does stuff like that." "Because he has more tongue than brains," muttered Garfield. He glanced at the decaying buildings. "This place is creepy. Let's find Odie and get out." "I've heard Funland is haunted," John said to the watchman. "Is it true?" "Beware of the phantom," was all the watchman said. "Phantom?" cried Garfield. "On second thought, Odie can find his own way home. Let's go, John. We're missing fun with fungus on public television." John gulped. "Is there really a phantom?" "Beware. No, beware," the watchman repeated. Then he vanished into the night. "I hear my teddy bear calling," said Garfield, turning to leave. "Hold it, Garfield," said John. "We can't leave Odie here." "Oh, all right," Garfield grumbled, "but I really hate being haunted." John and Garfield began searching the park. They crept past the old funhouse, where a giant plaster clown's head grinned eerily on the moonlit roof. They peeked into the dark arcade. They checked the shadows under the roller coaster, but there was no Odie. Giving away a little spoilers there. As they passed the funhouse again, a maniacal scream echoed down the midway. John and Garfield froze in their tracks. Then a shadow. Oh boy. Yeah. Then a shadow on the funhouse roof caught Garfield's eye. "John, I see some." But before Garfield could finish, the giant clown's head was hurtling toward them. "Look out!" cried Garfield, pushing John aside. The clown's head smashed onto the ground, barely missing them. "John, someone really doesn't want us here," said Garfield. "I mean, someone besides me." Trembling at every shadow, they continued to search, but Odie was nowhere to be found. Finally, they sat down on the darkened carousel. Excuse me. Sat down on the darkened carousel. Suddenly, the carousel lit up and started spinning. "Whoa!" cried John as he and Garfield scrambled onto horses. "Who started this thing?" "I did," said a low, sinister voice. Slowly, John and Garfield turned around. Riding behind them was the Phantom. His bony fingers reached for Garfield, while with his other black-gloved hand he held tightly onto the lurching horse. "Nice ride," said Garfield. "Well, we have to panic now." "Well, we have to panic now. See ya." With a shriek, John and Garfield leaped off the carousel and raced away, the Phantom chasing after them. Desperate to escape, Garfield veered through the door of the funhouse. Immediately, the door dropped away, and he tumbled down a long slide into the darkness. He finally skidded to a halt at the bottom, only to come face to face with another gruesome creature. Garfield screamed. The creature screamed. Then the creature gave Garfield a familiar sloppy lick. "Odie," said Garfield, hugging his friend. "You goofy mutt. Thanks to you, we're all going to be phantom fodder. We've got to go find John and get out of here." First, they had to find a way out of the funhouse. Garfield spied a strip of light. "Must be a door," he said. He eased it open. The room was bare, except for a cot and a pile of clothes. "Look, here's the watchman's uniform," Garfield said. "But where's the watchman?" I'm probably going to have to wrap up this stream here so soon. I'm getting pretty tired. Odie stuck his nose under the cot and came out with a black glove. Garfield examined it closely. "Odie, I'm beginning to think that phantom is a phony. Let's find out." When the two pets finally found their way out of the funhouse, they heard John crying. "Help! Help!" They dashed toward the sound. The phantom had cornered John beneath the Ferris wheel. "Drop that arbuckle!" cried Garfield, rushing forward. He threw himself onto the control lever. The Ferris wheel started to spin, scooping the phantom into a seat. The phantom into a seat. Garfield spun the Ferris wheel back and forth very fast. After a few minutes, the phantom cried, "I give up! I give up! Make it stop!" When the phantom reached the bottom, Garfield hit the brake. The phantom lurched forward. "I don't feel so good," he moaned, slowly removing his mask. "The night watchman!" John exclaimed. "I believe this is yours," said Garfield, handing the watchman a black glove. "Why were you scaring us?" John demanded. "To keep you from snooping around here," explained the man, who was still a little pale. "My name is Higgins. I used to be the night watchman for Funland. When the park closed, I stayed behind." Why would you hang around this creepy place?" asked John. "I love this old park," Higgins said. "It's been my home for 30 years, but I knew if the owners found out I was here, they'd make me leave. So I created the Phantom to scare nosy people away. Now I'll have to go," he said sadly. "Mr. Higgins, I'll keep your secret," said John, "but on one condition. You have to let me visit you. I want to ride the carousel again." "It's a deal," said Mr. Higgins with a smile. "I'll come back too," added Garfield. "But you have to, but you have to promise me two things. No ghosts and tons of cotton candy." All right, that was the end of that one. There's one story left in the book. I'll go ahead and read that one, and then after that, I suppose we'll have to call it a night, because, I'm getting very tired. Oh, what's that? Poor Garfield at Funland. Poor Arbuckle. Agreed. Agreed. All right. Last story in the book. The last thing for this stream. The Secret of the Slippery Hippo. You boys enjoying the stories so far? I would hope. Okay. So, The Secret of the Slippery Hippo. It's nice of you to give Garfield and me a tour. Oh, wait, sorry. Wrong voice. It's nice of you to give Garfield and me a tour of the museum, Mr. Nash, John said to the assistant curator of the Natural History Museum. "I saw you fumbling with the map and thought you might need help," Mr. Nash replied. "Besides, I love showing off our collection, especially our Egyptian artifacts. Are you interested in Egyptology?" "Egypt, what?" asked John. Egyptology. It's the study of ancient Egypt. Very interesting people, the ancient Egyptians. Did you know they worshipped cats? Doesn't everybody? Asked Garfield. They built pyramids, of course, and they wrote with these pictures called hieroglyphics. Mr. Nash showed them a stone tablet engraved with rows of tiny pictures. Here's my favorite piece in the collection, said Mr. Nash, pointing to a small blue hippopotamus. It's almost 4,000 years old, Mr. Nash. Mr. Nash removed the hippo from its glass case. Would you like to hold it? Oh, I couldn't, said John. We don't let anyone do it. We don't let everyone do it, whispered Mr. Nash. But you seem so interested. John reached cautiously for the figure. Then suddenly, the hippo was in the air. John dove for it, but the hippo slipped through his fingers and smashed to pieces on the floor. What have you done? Mr. Nash screamed. Guard! Guard! It wasn't my fault, exclaimed John. I hope that hippo had a 4,000-year warranty, Garfield said, suddenly turning into Oktoberfest. The guard ran up to Mr. Nash. This man tried to steal a precious antique, said Mr. Nash. Take him to the curator's office. Follow me. What? It's a mistake, John protested as the guard marched him away. How's the food in prison? Garfield asked the guard. Mr. Stimson, head curator of the museum, was seated behind his desk. Angrily, Mr. Nash told him about the broken hippo. Arbuckle, said Mr. Stimson, that piece you tried to steal was going to a very important museum show in New York City. Now it's ruined, and you're in big trouble. But, stammered John. Gentlemen, Garfield said, my client pleads not guilty by reason of stupidity.
Don't know if y'all saw that, but the light just flickered a little bit. But it tends to do that on these lower settings. Let's see. But I wasn't stealing it, John blurted out. Mr. Nash asked if I wanted to hold it. Nonsense, snapped Mr. Nash. I was getting the hippo ready for the exhibit when you snatched it away. I object, interrupted Garfield. The witness is fibbing. And look at the hippo now. Continued Mr. Nash, holding up a big plastic bag filled with broken pieces. I'm calling the police, said Mr. Stimson. Hold on, said Garfield. He leaped onto the desk and snatched the bag of pottery pieces away from Mr. Nash. Hey, shouted Mr. Nash, give it back. Garfield dumped the pottery pieces onto Mr. Stimson's desk. It's really just a little destroyed, said Garfield. Frantically, he began trying to put the hippo back together. What's going on here? Demanded Mr. Stimson. Garfield quickly fit together two pieces with designs on them. See, this will be good as new, Garfield said. You can even read the hieroglyphics. He added another piece. Personally, I think these cracks give it more character, he said. Suddenly, Garfield froze. He stared at the fragments in his paw. John, you're saved, cried Garfield. If this hippo is priceless, then I'm a mummy's uncle. I don't know why Garfield suddenly has such a robust voice. Mr. Stimson examined the pieces Garfield held out to him. Nash, is this the hippo that Mr. Arbuckle dropped? Of course. But this hippo is a fake. Impossible, snapped Mr. Nash. It's true, said Garfield. Look, these designs aren't hieroglyphics. They're letters that spell out Taiwan. John looked closely at the fragments. When you put them together, they spell Taiwan. What does that mean? It means this hippo was made in Taiwan, not ancient Egypt, said Mr. Stimson. This is a copy from the museum gift shop. Someone must have switched it for the original, Mr. Nash suggested. Obviously, Mr. Stimson said. Why didn't you notice that? Well, Nash began. You took the hippo out of its case, interrupted Mr. Stimson. You must have seen that it was a fake. Explain yourself, Nash.
Mr. Nash started for the door. Not so fast, yelled Garfield. He dove onto Mr. Nash's back, sending him sprawling. Mr. Nash groaned. I give up. I dropped the original hippo yesterday, and then I panicked and replaced it with a fake. But I knew the switch would be discovered at the museum show, so I decided to trick someone into breaking the fake. Then no one would suspect me. I chose Mr. Arbuckle because he looked so clumsy. Not to mention gullible, said Garfield. Mr. Nash was led away by the guard. Mr. Stimson apologized to John for all the trouble. It's lucky for you your cat spotted that fake, he told John. Well, it's not easy to trick Garfield, said John. Like they say, John, observed Garfield, you can fool some people all of the time, but don't ever try to con a cat. See anything else? Well, I suppose I could show off the artwork on the last page of that story. There you go. Now, let me double check. I believe that was all 5 stories. Or was it 6? A Clue in the Chicken Coop, Purloined Pie, Secret of Slippery Hippo, Phantom Funlands, The Case of the All Gone Goldfish. Yep, that has been all of Garfield's Tales of Mystery. Although I suppose I can read this little blurb on the back. Culprits beware. Garfield, the detective, is on the case in 5 action-packed mysteries, guaranteed to amuse and intrigue mystery lovers and Garfield fans alike. From a haunted amusement park to an overcrowded henhouse, the clues turn up fast and funny when everyone's favorite fat cat is hungry for answers. Look for these other Garfield books from Grosset and Dunlap. Garfield Goes Camping, Garfield's Furry Tales, Garfield's Scary Tales, Garfield the Easter Bunny, Garfield and the Haunted Diner, and Garfield's Night Before Christmas. All right. Now let's see. Is there anything else of note? Nope. All right. Ladies and gentle viewers of the future who may happen to click upon this video, I doubt you're going to watch this far into it, considering I think we're about at the 3-hour mark at this point. I believe we're going to wrap this up here. Let me just get a swig of water. Okay. So let's see. I will choose one of my little friends to assist me with the outro. My 1967 Danny O'Day ventriloquist puppet. Just gotta remember how to hold the head stick on this guy. There we go. So Danny, did you enjoy those stories? Yeah, but your delivery could use a little work. Yeah, I suppose it wasn't that great. Wasn't that bad either. Well, I appreciate you. And I appreciate that. So, what do you say, Danny? Shall we say goodbye to our friend there? You mean, let's see here, Alina's Kitty World? Yep. Shall we say goodbye to them? I suppose. Okay. Thank you for tuning in, everybody. And I promise he'll continue to work on his ventriloquism. She collects porcelain dolls and glass dolls. That's quite interesting. As you can see, he collects dummies. But with that said, oh, hello. But with that said, we're going to have to wrap things up here. Have a great night, everyone. This is then Oxley Nations and Danny O'Day saying, Cowabunga, and we'll see y'all in the next episode. Later. Very well done, Danny. Very well done. Later, y'all. Oxleymations out.